Hello and welcome to the Form on this Friday, and as always, plenty of action to get underway this afternoon. Let's kick things off with the agenda. We've got a Hawera Gallops preview with Bevin Sweeney. We then press on to a New Zealand Greyhound preview, a double dog preview with Pip and Andy McCook. Craig Thompson is all over the harness for us. We get Sydney trainer Annabelle beaming in from New South Wales to talk about exciting Galopazaki. And we also catch up with Jamie Richards from Tiakau. He's got a very, very strong book of horses taking place on Saturday. Not only that, but as always, wrapping things up with our best bets. Well, the first person we're going to chat to today on the Form is Bevin Sweeney, who's all over Hawera. Bevin, welcome in. Great to have you with us. And it looks like it's going to be shaping up to be a really, really good day.
That does, Emily, and there's a touch of spring in the air this morning, as there has been across the last couple of days. Of course, we lead into the Fox Bridge tomorrow and then into the 3 days of the Spring Carnival. So it's great to have a little bit of spring weather about, and we've got some promising horses stepping out this afternoon, Emily, especially a couple of 3-year-olds that we'll highlight shortly.
Yeah, I was looking through the card there at Hawera, and there are some really, really promising horses. What have you singled out as your best bet on that card?
Well, it really is the time of the year in all jurisdictions in the north and the CD and the south that we try and find the right 3-year-old to follow through to Riccarton or into the Living Classic, and then, of course, up to Ellerslie. One I think that you can put a circle around is in race 2 tomorrow, called Hoodlum. It's a colt by Furnaces. We certainly haven't seen many of those on this side of the ditch. Gary Harding is the owner, and of course coming out of the John O'Benner and Holly Wynyard stable. Now, this has had a wrap on it for a long period of time from Jono. If you go back and have a look at its trial at Foxton on the 23rd of March, you won't see a more impressive performance. One with a lot in hand. It's got an inside gate tomorrow, Emily. It does have a little bit of box speed. It's got the senior hoop available at the present moment, and the CD and Lisa all press aboard. If it jumps and finds a full position, it will be winning. I'm not sure about the quote yet, but anything $2 and above is outstanding.
Yeah, and what about something with a little bit more value on that card, Bevin?
Okay, we're going to look to the race number 3, Emily. Now, this is a maiden over the 1,200 metres, and we have a 3-year-old filly taking on the older horses called Rue Claire for Bryce Newman. This is a filly by Presea. It's had a couple of trials at Foxton, one on the 13th of April, dominant, and then came out, and I saw this trial on the 27th of July. It was outstanding, soft at the line, not really asked at all. It ran a good time on the day. Again, it's got Lisa Allpress aboard. I really feel that this is a filly that you can follow with a fair bit of confidence around the Central Districts and further afield in time. Now, Kofu is in that race from Tony Pike, so I imagine that horse will take a fair bit of money. Just think you might get a nice price around a filly that you can really follow strongly going forward. Number 14, race 3, Rue Claire.
Love your work, Bevin. Thanks very much for that. We're going to press on here on the Form. We've got a double dog preview coming up after the break. Now it's time for our double dog preview with Andy McCook at Addington and Pip Morris, who's got some tips for us from Whanganui. Pip, we'll come to you first. A little bit of a false start with Wednesday's racing, but we're back underway this afternoon.
Yeah, great to have racing back at Hat-Trick Raceway, and have picked out a couple on the high-grade meeting. Gone for race number 5, big time breed for Lisa Cole. She's drawn the 6. She's coming off a really nice win at Addington in a feature race. She is up against the Kennel Mate and, of course, her Trojan horse, but I think she can pull off that race if she jumps like she did down at Addington, so making her the best of the night. And then I've gone for one of Mum's as the value. Race number 11 on the program. Box number 2, Yarn's Sister. Look, she's got explosive early pace. That's where she can win her races. She's drawn to the inside of a wide runner as well, Wi-Fi Robin, who I just thought might be the buffer for her, and definitely an each-way play in the 11th of the night, Emily.
Thanks, Pip, and Andy, to you. What have you got for us on the program there at Addington to look forward to?
Yeah, Emily, it's an interesting meeting out of Addington today. Low-grade greyhounds going around, so a little bit tough to pick out an absolute special on the card, but I think there's one going around in race 4, dog 6 Theroux. He's stepping back after racing in the Canterbury Futurity Series over the 295 metres his last 2 starts, third in the final for that, and behind dogs Hilton Hope Class 5, Epic Diamond Class 5. So he's going to notice a fairly decent step back in grade, and the wide draw certainly no concern for him. A little bit of value, race 9, dog 2, Epic Knight, stepping back up over the 520 metres. I know his record over it pretty plain, but I think the step back to 500 suits what we've been seeing from him over the 295 metres, and he should be at a nice enough price as well. And also another one to follow in race 3, dog 3, Cinnamon, a dog who's still in the maiden grade, but he's been knocking on the door for some time. I think Friday can be his day, and he looks pretty tough to beat.
Awesome stuff, team. Thanks so much for your selections, and enjoy that afternoon of racing. Up next here on The Form, we catch up with Craig the Whale Thompson. Well, for the first time on The Form, Craig Thompson beams in. Craig, what have you got for us in the harness code?
Thanks, Emily. Lovely to join you on The Form this morning. Really like a couple of horses on Friday night. My best of the night actually goes on debut in race number 3, a horse called It's a Moneymaker. It's trained by Robert Dunn. John will drive, barrier 2, half-brother Ned Kelly. He was really good at his latest trial. Got him at about 56.5, and he closed off nicely the last 150 metres. Gets a nice draw, probably inside his main rival in Beach Ball. And I think, depending on what odds you can get as we're forming this no fixed odds out, I do think he's one of the better bets on the day. Race 3, number 2, It's a Moneymaker. Mark him down as a horse to follow. Maybe for an each-way price later on the program, in the intermediate grade trot, a horse that's dropping back in grade is a mare called Majestic Chick. Now, she goes around a race number 6. Tim Williams takes the drive. She's been taking on far stronger fields, the likes of the Dominator, Woodstone. Drops into the right race, drawn a little bit wide, but she will go forward. And I think she's a competitive chance here at an each-way price. Race 6, number 9, Majestic Chick. Got a good record at the distance, a good record at the track, and I think she's a good chance here. Main danger is KRS, who's been in very good form. But for us on The Form, the 2 main bets, best of the night, It's a Moneymaker, each way, Majestic Chick.
Thanks, Craig. Awesome stuff. We're going to get you off to a break on The Form, and on the back of that, New South Wales to catch up with Annabelle Neesham. Well, we have the pleasure of heading across the ditch now on The Form to have a chat with Annabelle Neesham. She's got some really exciting gallopers in her stable. Annabelle, welcome in. Great to have you. And who's that in the background?
Yeah, it's Zaki. Hopefully having some winning plates put on. If Brad's doing his job properly.
I love that you're keeping an eye on him, making sure it's all going smoothly. What's he been up to since he came back from Queensland?
He obviously had a break up there and pre-trained up there, and since then he had a very quiet trial, and then his second trial was a jump out. We've only been restricted to working them at Warwick Farm or trialing at Warwick Farm due to the COVID restrictions, so it was just a jump out last week, but he was really good. Had one trip to Ramwick and galloped with Mwanga a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, he's sort of not fully wound up, but I think he's sort of forward enough to run a really nice race.
What's he like as a horse? He looks pretty relaxed in the background there, but what's he like around the stable?
Oh, he's a lovely horse. He's got a bit of presence about him, but he's quite relaxed. Under saddle, he can be a bit cheeky. He can have a bit of a buck and a play. Probably the cheekier he gets, the better he's going. As his prep goes on, most horses settle down as the prep goes on, and he does the opposite. He sort of gets more and more full of beans. So just started seeing that the last few weeks. He's got a new trick, which is to lie down in the water at the beach with no warning.
Okay.
Just sits down in the water. So his riders have had a few dunkings there, but yeah, he is a bit of a character.
What can we expect from him fresh?
I mean, James knows him so well, and he's the best rider there is, so don't need to give him too many instructions. all I want to see is the horse settle wherever he's comfortable. He has got a high cruising speed, so and James knows that. It'll utilise his nice big stride, but the main thing is to make sure he's hitting the line and not having a gut buster first up, because really the main aim is the Cox Plate. So it's pretty hard to have horses peaking in all of their runs in a prep. So he'll be most vulnerable in this run, with it being his first, and first time we've had him over 1400 as well. So yeah, certainly short of his best. So it'll be interesting, but I think just based on his work, he's still going to be very competitive.
You mentioned the Cox Plate being that sort of main target at the end of this campaign. How do you get there off the back of the tramway, all being well?
A couple of options. If I can get my staff into quarantine, which will include Todd Pollard, who I'm sure some of you are familiar with.
Yeah.
Him and his rider will go down and quarantine, and then we'll probably look towards the Underwood and then the Coolfield Stakes. But if we can't get them there, then I'll probably look to leave him at home and run him in the George Main, and then the Coolfield Stakes. But I think the Coolfield Stakes, for him, he's a horse that relishes 2 weeks between runs, and I think the Coolfield track will suit him. So I think that would be a nice lead-up race for him.
Yeah. You've also got on Saturday Wisdom of Water. I noticed scratch from New South Wales, but taking its place in Victoria in the McEwen Stakes, also coming back from a Queensland prep.
Yeah, he jumped out really well on Friday and worked very well on Tuesday. So we decided to accept him both. Obviously, the race in Sydney came up extremely strong, as you'd expect. But he's ready to run. So I was happy to go round either or, depending on the barriers, and he drew well in both. But look, Moonee Valley looks probably a slightly softer option, and he's drawn well. Little bit of an unknown. He's never gone round a bend left-handed. He's had a couple of runs when Mick Price had him, but they were both down the straight. So it'll be the first time he's raced left-handed. Possibly the first time he's raced on a heavy track, if all the rain they forecast comes. But he trialled really well on a wet track. So I'm quite keen to get him on one and try him, because it might just bring out another length or two improvement that he probably needs to win a bigger race.
New Zealanders keep a very keen eye on Mwanga and what he's been up to. Wonderful Group 1 win. Big congratulations for that, of course. What do you do with him next, and how did he come through his run?
He came through in great order. Obviously, the team were really excited. He beat a really good field, and he was a Group 1 winner over 2,000. But once they win a Group 1 over 14, when they're still entire, it makes them more valuable, and it's a whole different ball game. So that was exciting from that point of view as well. And with him, there's the option. I think he's favourite at the moment for the Golden Eagle. Obviously, big prize pot, $7.5 million race. So certainly got my eyes fixed on there at this stage. But the Cox Plate's a race I'd love to win as well. So I've got Zaki for the Cox Plate at this stage, but I'll keep an open mind with Mwanga because he's brilliant at the 2,000 as well. But I'll have to make a decision at some stage in the next few weeks, because if he's going to go to the Golden Eagle, we'll have to keep him fresh. But he'll head to either the Makybe Diva next Saturday at Flemington, or we'll keep him in Sydney and go to the George Main. We'll work that out after his last gallop on Tuesday.
Awesome stuff, Annabelle. Thanks so much for your time. Give Zaki a big good luck pat from me, and hopefully he runs well on Saturday and heads towards that Cox Plate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now on the show, we have Jamie Richards joining us. Jamie, you've got such a strong book of runners on Saturday at Te Rapa, and a couple across the ditch as well. First of all, let's highlight Te Rapa and that Foxbridge Plate. Avantage Prix de Festivity. Let's start with Avantage. How's she?
Yeah, Avantage is really good. Been happy with her all the way through. I guess just sort of one thing that we've just got to be a little bit mindful at the moment is that we've sort of been preparing her to race for say, the last 2 or 3 weeks. And it's a very fine balancing act, trying to sort of get the right amount of fitness into it, but also making sure that we're not sort of overtaxing her. So we've been happy with it. 2 trials. She's been to Taupo and had a gallop, and she's had a couple of good, strong pieces of work here in Matamata. And I was particularly pleased with how she looked when she did a bit of work on the course proper this morning. So I think she's where she needs to be. She's drawn a little bit awkward. Obviously, Opie can't ride her, as you well know, and Danielle's climbing aboard, but she does have a good association with her. And with a little bit of luck and running, she's going to be, hopefully a really good chance.
How does she compare to previous years heading into this race?
Well, that's something that we have been a bit mindful of, in terms of she is getting a bit older, and when those mares get a bit older, they get a bit fatter inside, and it takes a little bit longer to come off. And to be fair, sometimes I feel a bit guilty that we're over galloping her, but she's just got the best constitution and carries a lot of condition. You've really got to dish it up to her. But I'm really happy with where she's at. I think her coat's good. She's good and sound, and still seems to have that zest for racing. So, it's all systems go for us.
Predefer and Festivity, what can we expect from them?
Predefer is obviously a sort of a horse that might just be a little bit below the best ones, but he's just got to kick off somewhere, and he ran really well on this race last year, and expect him to do the same again. Happy with where he's at and how he's going. He usually probably better over 1400, but no reason why he can't sprint well fresh. And Troy's on him, and Festivity is she's a real up and comer. She's sort of been luckless in a couple of races behind on Treviere, where she still ran some really good sectionals. So we've been pleased with her trials, pleased with her work. It's not really our sort of style to run a mare like her off her rating in a weight for age race, but we just didn't really think there was a lot of other options for her. And if she could sort of run into second or third and get a bit of Group 2 black type, well, it's all a help. But certainly keep a very close eye on Festivity.
Also, that other stakes race on the card for the 3-year-olds is the Cambridge Breeders, and obviously you've got a really strong contingent of runners in that too. Imperatriz was short price favourite when the races were expected to go ahead last week. What's been the balancing act to get her through to this week?
Oh, just sort of keep her happy and keep her eating. She's a filly that we have a big opinion of. She's obviously been very good in her 2-year-old campaign and good at the trials at Ellerslie. So she's done some nice work. She's been working up with Avantage, which sort of gives an indication of how well she's going. And really happy with where she's at. Looking forward to having her back at the race. So she has been off a while, but she keeps herself pretty naturally fit, and I don't think the 1200 should be any problem for her.
I Wish I Win is another really exciting horse. Hard to believe he's having just his 3rd start tomorrow in that race. Already a Group 1 place getter. How's he developed from that 2 to 3 period?
Yeah, I think he's done well. He's a gelding there that Waikato Stud kept because he wasn't really a saleable product going through the yearling sales. But to be fair, he's been done the natural way, and he's been gelded and given plenty of time, and he's going really well. He's developed nicely through the winter. Very happy with where he's at. And most of these horses, fortunately, are going to appreciate these races being pushed back a week, because if we did run last Saturday, the weather was going to be awful, and we're going to get the opportunity to see them on top of a nice track there on Saturday. So those two are going particularly well, and as is Millefiore. She's a really nice up and coming filly as well that we've got a lot of time for.
I've got a list as long as my arm of your other runners on the card. Can you single a few out that you're excited to see and you think could really perform well on Saturday?
Yeah, looking forward to seeing Novia. He's a colt we've got a lot of time for. He's got a big pedigree, and he was in a sort of an expensive yearling purchase, and he'll be a real standout in the birdcage. Looking forward to seeing him back. We've got a lot of time for a couple of these maideners that we're running. So the maiden 3-year-old 12s, they're just about sort of, I guess, stakes winners in waiting. Got a lot of time for Pure Imagination. He's a really nice colt that they've bought from the Ready to Run sale, and Medal and the Perfect Pink are a couple of nice Savabills that we do have a bit of time for as well. But there's a lot of sort of highly touted horses in those maiden 3-year-olds.
A noticeable absentee from Saturday is obviously Palamos. I know punters are pretty keen to see him step back out to the races. What's the plan with him from here?
So Palamos just had a bit of an elevated temperature on Tuesday morning. He was down the Gallop here on Tuesday, and he wasn't 100%, left a little bit of waste feed, and his blood was a bit off. So we just backed off and was having 3 or 4 days in the paddock. Seems to have bounced through it pretty well, and we're hoping that we can still get him back towards Hastings for the first day and probably run him in that Al Rocker down there. So that's what we're sort of trying to do. It's just sort of how his blood comes back in the next 2 or 3 days.
Across the ditch, Probabile, how did she come through that stunning win?
Yeah, she's come through it in great shape. Ashley's been really happy with her. So she's all systems go into the Sir Rupert Clarke on what are we to day night? So that's about the 18th as well. So she'll go back over to Caulfield. Might even have a little jump out or something in between just to keep her right up to the mark. She's a bit like Avantage now. She's a big, gross sort of mare, and it's important that you sort of keep the work up to them without sort of tipping them over the edge. So we've got a new jockey there with Brett Peel engaged to rider, and we're looking forward to seeing how that's going to work out as well.
Karma Lass, she'll be running on Saturday tomorrow, race 7, number 9. How she handled that trip across the ditch, and what can we expect from her?
Yeah, she's in good shape. We're happy with her. Fair bit of rain forecast in Melbourne today. So I'm sort of talking 20 to 30 mils, but speaking to Brad this morning, that Moonee Valley track can take it pretty well, and they've had a couple of nice fine days there leading into it. Track could be pretty firm by the time they get that rain. So, look, she's going over in good order. She's got over there and thrived with a bit of sun on her back, which is really encouraging. Where she sort of fits in, we're not entirely sure yet, and it's not going to be easy for her on Saturday either. It's quite a strong race. She's drawn out in the car park like all of ours do over there. So probably look for her to be back and running a little bit and finding the line and get her up to 13 or 1400 in the next couple of starts.
A couple of your other stable stars, they stepped out yesterday at the trials, Entrevier and Amaralina. Were you impressed with what you saw from them?
Yeah, I thought there were a couple of really nice trials. James rode on through the air and she led, and we just asked her to do a little bit the last 50 yards, and she won nicely. So she'll run next Saturday, all going well. She's going to head out to Kembla Grange. The Rosehill meeting's moved out there again like it did the other day. So she'll run in a race called the Scirocco out there, which is Group 2 fillies and mares 1200. And Amaralina trialled in the following heat. Kieran rode her. She sort of sat back and came down the outside like she normally does, finished third under not too much pressure, and she's not going to run for a little while. She'll run in the Bill Ritchie on the 18th. But yeah, really happy with both of those. I think they're coming up well.
Awesome stuff. Well, Jamie, huge weekend for you. Best of luck. And if you had to pick out a best for us across all of those races, what would it be?
Really looking forward to seeing Avantage back at the races. She's going to be a real handful beforehand. I don't think Trev will be looking forward to being towed around by her, but hopefully when she gets out on the track, she'll be doing the business. So really, just an exciting time of the year to be back racing, Emily.
Great stuff. Thank you. Final part of our show this morning is your best bets. Let's find out, recap what the team liked this afternoon. Bevin Sweeney goes race 2, number 3 in Hoodlum. We then head to Andy McCook at Addington, race 4, number 6, The Roo. And then Pip Morris is selected, race 5, Big Time 3. And then Craig the Well Thompson, race 3, number 2, It's a Moneymaker. Well, that wraps things up here on The Form. Hopefully you enjoyed the show, and good luck with your investments throughout this afternoon. We'll be back tomorrow. Aidan Rodley will be joining us to talk all things form for your Saturday.